was
Yeah,
that?
home all last week.
You're live, folks.
This is me, right?
Yeah, good boy. Good crowd.
A bow tie?
Sarah's on.
Oh,
That's the big guy.
thanks. Matt is
Good.
just so
No,
muscular.
no, I'm not.
He was
Thank
just
you very much.
blocking.
Yeah,
Thank you for the compliment.
right.
Right?
Put this down here and help me forget it.
Okay. That's fair. There's a third. I always forget.
Okay. I didn't. What is that doing? Speak up.
So yeah, Phil, by Thursday, he finally stopped. He had his elbow. It almost looked like
This is hard. Get with it. Follow along if you want. Please help me out. I, Bill Roberts,
I, Bill Roberts,
have been duly promoted to the office of Sergeant
have been duly promoted to the office of Sergeant
for the city of Ephrata, Washington.
for the City of Ephrata, Washington.
I do solemnly swear or affirm
I do solemnly swear or affirm
that I am a citizen of the United States,
that I am a citizen of the United States,
that I will faithfully and impartially,
that I will faithfully and impartially,
he's getting tough,
perform
perform the duties of my office
the duties of my office
as prescribed by law and to the best of my ability.
as prescribed by law and to the best of my ability.
Abide by the law enforcement code of ethics
Abide by the law enforcement code of ethics
that I will support and maintain.
that I will support and maintain.
The ordinance of the city of Ephrata,
The ordinance of the City of Ephrata,
the laws of the Constitution
laws of the Constitution
of the state of Washington and the United States of America.
of the State of Washington and the United States of America.
You did a good job.
Thank you, sir.
Congratulations. Oh, is that?
Yeah.
Okay, before you go off, the photo op with everybody, step right in there. We'll get wait, we'll stop talking in there. You know it. Thank you, Bill.
Faces.
Great. All right. Do you want to leave? Time to go party. Yeah, we're user friendly here. Thanks, Bill.
You're not the crowd.
Oh, yeah.
Back to work, Bill. So moving on, we have a consent agenda. Oh, no, we don't.
Roll call, pledge of allegiance.
Oh, roll call. Jeez, get out of sync, dude. Roll call, we've done that. Everybody's here. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Checking out our public comment sheet. Nobody has signed in, so we'll move on from that to the consent agenda. Need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Just a quick update on this consent agenda that our 25078 is a grant from the Giza Credit Union for $5,000, and it's being transferred over to the fire department for parts and labor, probably. They get into that, so that's part of the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Congratulations, Chairman.
Staff committee and agency grants and projects website review. Oh, sorry. I ran out of gas. For those of you that don't know, this is Dave Bren, and he is excited to be here tonight.
He's excited.
Dave Brent. I'm your project engineer and grant writer. It's time to update you on what we've been doing over the last few months. So now with the new website, we're able to present things and be very open and transparent with what's going on. So in planning ahead up to 6 years, which is actually quite exciting. So let me walk you through it. So I don't know if you've been watching what's been happening in the background. So underneath departments, if you come over to engineering, by the way, we'll also talk a little bit about parks and recreation as well. I've been working with Josh quite a bit. About 10 to 15% of my time is supporting others as well, like parks. So underneath engineering, there's grant planning, transportation planning, project engineering, and construction engineering subpages. So a good place to start, transportation planning, because there's our 6-year plan as far as roads. But as you see from the plan, we like to plan ahead 6 years, not just roads, but water, sewer, storm, streets, which is what this is. So grants are kind of where we're headed toward, and I'm going to get into that. So 6-year plan, we did amend to add one grant project to there as well. Also, I've been working on getting traffic counts, because a lot of these grants specifically for roads require traffic counts. So we have traffic counts. By the way, any of these graphics you can click on and it will bring up the, and you can even download it too. You can see what we've been working on. You better leave that up in the back. So there we go. Another area that's important is updating our federal functional classification. So it turns out for state and federal grants, specifically for streets, that if it's not classified, it's very difficult to get money for that, to get grants for that. So right now we're going through a process where we're trying to update our federal classification on our roads. So anything that's green and kind of gold, yellow, that is what we already are federally classified. That means we're either an arterial or a collector. Anything that's red is what we're trying to get updated, get added. Now, when it is federally classified as an arterial or a collector, then we can go after grants. The most grant money is available for that. Yes, there is grants that are available for local access, which is basically all our other streets, but the ones that are quickly available are for these streets here. So the red ones are not included yet. So these are proposed changes that I've been working with already. We're going to have to, this may take a couple years to get that, but you have to have a plan. You have to have a kind of lighthouse in the distance, because if you don't have that plan, then you're not going after grants for that plan. So planning and grant programs go together. So it's like I have to hit it twice on. So that is the federal functional classification. Now, how does that lead to grants and grant planning? By the way, this is all planning, so we're continuing to update that. I knew when I first came to it would probably take about 2 years to get a full grant program going for the city, but we're actually a little bit ahead of schedule. So as you can see, we have our 2025 applications that have gone in. We've gone after about $2.5 million of grants. Typically grants have match money, and you can see the sliver there is the match that would be required if we got them all. But after talking to some of the other cities and getting some reports back, really, do you get all your grants? No. Well, you got to go after them. You got to compete. That's what we're doing right now, is going after competing. So these, nice thing about this, when you get a chance, you can go in there and you can take a look. What grants did we apply for? So for example, TIV board, if you click on that, that'll bring up a quick little overview of the project. For example, this is our active transportation program. So this is to beautify our Basin Street corridor for a few blocks. And the nice thing about it is you can also click on it and it'll bring up conceptual plans. So I'm really good at CAD, I'm good at GPS, and drone work, right? So I'm a Part 107 pilot. So I can go out and I can fly it as well as bring that into our graphics. It's kind of weird. It's all the little dots online. So the quickest way to do conceptual plans is to fly it with and get a drone ortho photo, and then you can draw right over the top of that. Anything that you see as red is what's going to get replaced if we get this grant. We will know November 20, it's Thursday, November 22nd. By the way, that's on the face of this as well. So if you click on this, it'll tell you when the grants were applied for and when we will know if we have a potential grant award. So 11/20, it's a Thursday. So you can see that I applied for it a few months ago. And it takes a few months to find out, but you got to compete again. So also we put in for another TIB grant. By the way, that is kind of beautification of the downtown corridor. It's kind of, I don't know if you've looked at some of these things. I think our internet is a little slow tonight. So Schedule A is grant eligible. Schedule B would be things to beautify the corridor, for example, to get some of the flowers off the ground and then maybe hanging baskets, for example, down that corridor. That's a very different approach because then that allows for more room. By the way, all those little holes and pieces of the sidewalk that are missing, this grant would fill all that in and repave that. So that is part of what we're doing. You can see I've also done a conceptual estimate of project costs. Part of going after a grant is breaking it down, having a schedule of cost. And you'll see that for each one of the grants that we've gone after. Click twice. So, for example, the arterial preservation program. So this is another grant that we submitted back in July. Again, we'll find out at the end of this month. If you click here, you'll see we have about 5 miles of road that we're going to try to get chip sealed this next year. So we have to. Here we go. So this will give you some graphics, and it is our federally classified roads. So, and you'll notice the overlap between the federal classification map and this, because these we can go after funding for easily. So those roads we should be able to get funding for, and we should be able to stay on top of them and maintain them. The nice thing about having a 5-mile chip seal project like that that's paid for, say, out of TIB, is if we could get some local money together, that is the best time to do some of the local access roads at the same time. So maybe over, say, a 9 to 12 year period, we slowly do our local access roads too, with a certain, we have to plan that out. And that's what I did at the county previously, is had a 9-year rotation for all the roads in the county. So I'm kind of used to that, but that's in the works. We're working on that. Best time to do chip seal like that is when you have a big chip seal project, to put in some local access as well, because you're getting the lower cost of that big project to do some of the local access streets too, which again are not federally fundable. So we have to do that with local money. And that's kind of the approach. So also I put in for a Sandy Williams Community Connections grant. This one is, it's a little bit of a long shot, but I think we need to go for it. I'll show you what this is. So we have from 6th all the way down to, what is it, 18th? The whole south end, we are missing sidewalks. We have pieces and piecemeal of sidewalks everywhere going to the south for many blocks. Slow internet time. It should uploading. So I went out and flew it. It only takes a few hours in the morning to do that. And then with CAD, you can go ahead and get all the area. This is nice thing about an ortho photo is it's very accurate. These are very accurate drone ortho photos. So I can draw over the top of that, and I can very quickly find all of the sidewalks that we're missing, put in for that. So this is the Sandy Williams Community Connections Grants, which is for completing sidewalks on state highways. So it's like a perfect lineup for what we should have gone after this years ago, frankly. But we'll see, because we're up against a lot of competition on this. But if we don't get it now, we put in for it again. And we've got the whole package ready to go. We just keep putting in for it. And we haven't got a bite at the apple yet for this. So I'm hoping that gives us an advantage. Some other communities already have. So anyways, you got to get in there, you got to compete to go after grants for these kind of projects. And again, I put a cost schedule on there, kind of have a conceptual plan. And you can do that very quickly with some technical skills, if you will. But with that kind of plan, you have a better shot, I think, of getting stuff. So right now, Ray and I are still working on the possibility of getting a third grant, economic revitalization and planning grant, maybe working together with the port on that. So that one has not been applied for yet, but that is every 2 to 3 months, there's an opportunity to apply for that. So that's up to 4 times a year. So we don't have to worry about a 2-year cycle, which is the case for several of these are 2-year. TIBs are annual, but there's other ones that are every 2 years. So you got to get in there when, like, for example, the Department of Commerce, the Connecting Housing Infrastructure, the CHIP grant, which there's so much money. It's astounding how much money. There's more money that was put into that program than the TIB program this last year. So, and I'm seeing other cities throughout the state who have been getting these CHIP grants to help extend their water and sewer system. So again, we need to go after it. It's also beneficial to the development community. It's one of the few grants that there's an overlap with a developer. So we did have a developer make an application this time. We only had one, and I'm hoping next time, 2 years from now, we get it out there early and we maybe have some of the developers compete for it. And that's only every 2 years. So we had a developer apply for it, and then they decided to withdraw because it was just too much. The schedule was compressed too much. We got into it, became really late, frankly. But we'll be ready in the next 2 years around. Our code is already set up for this. Everything is in there because there's special things that have to be in there. It's already set up for the CHIP grant. So sometime in the past, someone did set us up. Thanks, Mark. So let's go back to grant planning. So that is the 25 applications. Now we're starting to plan forward. And by the way, several of those applications you remember because they came to you and you had to make decisions on them, whether to go after or not, whether to put aside the potential matching funds. Not all of them require matching funds, but and to plan for that. So I think we have that in our budget. But if we don't get them, that means that's okay, right? But if we do get them, sometimes you can also push a grant back a year or two so that you can put it into the next budget cycle. So keep that in mind. I have some information up here exactly on that. In addition, grant awards typically have a multi-year expenditure window and may be extended. This provides some flexibility if we have to push a grant forward. I do that when I was at the county. I did that all the time. Pushed back a grant, ask for an extension to get it into a budget cycle that makes sense. So 26, I have 2 floodplains potential grants for floodplains. This one is promising, actually. So this would get us the money that we would need to finish off the 1973 core plan. I don't know if you're aware of what happened in 1973 and 74 when the diversion channel was constructed. They constructed it out to a farmer's field, and then it ended. If you look at this plan, it had more than that in there. They talked about continuing the canal all the way to, we're going to talk about right here, Rocky Ford Creek. They talked about, there were 6 solutions, and what the Corps did is they took the cheapest, quickest solution, and then part of that solution was basically to hand it to the locals, to hand it to the county and the city to deal with it thereafter. So I've been talking to the Corps and I said, hey, your plan, you didn't complete it. Can you help us? What can we do to complete this? So I've had some initial conversations with them. So we'll see where that goes. They are helpful. They said they'll do everything they can administratively to support us, but we'll see. These things can take years, but you got to start on them. Right? So anyways, we have a really good plan. There were several engineers that did a really good job laying that out, and there were 6 solutions, and I think they chose one of the worst ones of those solutions. I don't know how else to say it, but it basically just kind of ran away. They didn't even give us the easements to be able to maintain the facility. They just walked away from it and we're stuck with it, right? So I'm going to have to go after easements to be able to maintain it. Anyways, it goes on from there. So we need some money, and that's why I'm going after it. This one's really cool because there's zero match. But again, it's a gamble. So I actually went, I did the seminar with them just before this today. We're gonna have a lot of competition, but it is okay to compete. It is okay to go after it. Once you develop a application, you can take that application and submit it again, make some updates, keep going for it. And that's what I'm trying to do, is leave kind of a legacy. So no matter what, we can keep applying for these things. And also kind of just document, because there's so many. So working with Josh now, there is a lot of interesting grant opportunities out there in addition of maybe working with the community. So defining projects. So the first one is the RCO, which is coming up very quickly. So this would be for our bring up the project here. How much time do I have?
As much as you need.
So this is cool to be able to see what's going on.
Yes.
So the pickleball and the futsal hardscape improvements. So this is phase one. And fortunately, we have good matching money from Lozier. Yes, thank you. So and Lozier's providing that over a few year window too, if I remember. So the idea is that we'll go after a grant if we can get an RCO grant, which only funds 50%. It's a 50-50, right? So let me bring that up. I can show you. RCO Youth, it's a 50-50. So using half of the Lozier, and this is something that needs to be discussed, but it's just starting planning, and I think you've got to have a plan to be able to move forward. So the idea is to see if we can take the Lozier money and go further with it. If we get the grant, then we don't have to expend all of it to get this done next year. So notice it's about $400,000, and that's about the total of the Lozier grant. But if we can get the RCO grant that funds 50% of it, then we can do a phase two. The phase two would be the so phase one is hardscape, get the concrete down for all the pickleball courts and the futsal/basketball court. Let me show you here. So I went ahead and designed it already. Basically got more than a conceptual. This one is well into preliminary engineering because I even have contours on there. I've designed it somewhat. So in addition, providing parking so that and drainage as well. That would be phase one. If we could get that 50-50 grant plus Lozier, we could do that, say, next year. And then phase two would be everything above the ground, because there's all the nets, there's all the fencing, there is the futsal court itself. It has a lot of specialized hardware, if I remember. So perhaps that's phase two. And then there is also the possibility of a phase three sometime in the future of maybe having a cover for it and making it basically an open shed, if you will. And I've seen, when I went to the grant training just recently, there was some other cities that phase it where they basically put up a pole barn and to have activities, and then a few years down the line they enclosed it. They did that in a phased way, which was very interesting. And then they used grants to supplement that along with each phase. Taking what you have for match money and getting more out of it by coupling it with a grant. But again, you don't get them and you have to compete for them. So this is another interesting grant that I just found out about. Department of Commerce has a youth recreation facilities grant. However, it's only 25%. But 25%, I'm watching what the other cities are doing. What they're doing is they're putting pots of money together and making it happen. So for example, this project's a really interesting one. This is, let me click on this, in the Parkway ball fields. There's a need for additional parking down there. And it's loading up. So there is a fence along this line and it's already gravelled. It would be the quickest way to get additional parking in very quickly. Basically, you push that fence back and you would have to also move the picnic tables as well. But then you could pave it very quickly and you could get another 20 parking stalls in there. So, and then there was my estimate. I can't remember what it was. It wasn't that bad. I have to zoom in to find that actually. Right down here. Here we go. Oop, wrong one. There we go. So the project budget is 72,000. So if you're able to get a grant that provides 25% of it, not much, but 25%, and to challenge us to do a fundraiser, perhaps. If you're asking for a fundraiser for $30,000, it's very different than 300,000 or 600,000. And then perhaps if budget was put aside, a portion of it, but pots of money putting together. And again, that's just a plan, is all that has to be budgeted and approved. But you have to look into the future and plan. And maybe this gets pushed back another year or two. The second one's really interesting, and it's much smaller, $36,000. Going after, this one's a very interesting one. And we've been meeting with the Parks Commission on this, so they're fully aware of all these projects. So what would be the quickest way to establish parking on Patrick? It's you just paint the stripes. You don't have to build out a parking area when the road is that wide. And unfortunately, people are racing down this road. I know I was out there. Wow, people are going fast on that road. So when you have lanes, naturally, you don't even think about it, but you naturally slow down. When you have this wide thoroughfare that's 40 feet, actually more than that, 44 feet wide of pavement, you overspeed. You don't even think about it. You just naturally overspeed because it's a big freeway. So just painting it could make a big difference, and it's very cost effective. So this project's 36,000, and that would include the gravel. This is exactly a half a mile going all the way around. So you could have this park be dedicated to, say, walking. And I know that a lot of people run along the canal road as well. So this could be, and I know someone was saying that the school actually uses that as their location where they go and they run from. So maybe each park has a duty, let's say, like, the dog park is the dog park. Maybe this is the walking trail, walking and running park, if you will, and has a nice loop. We could put little concrete pedestals on the ground for, each 1/10 of a mile or what have you. And as you're walking around, you can watch your kids playing on the play center. Anyway, it's just a thought. And this is super cost effective. That's just 36,000 or so. By next year, probably be another 10% more, right? These things go up so quick. But putting together 18,000 with a fundraiser is doable. It's possible, right? I know it's a lot of money, but all these little pots of money could help. But it really start with, hey, can we get a youth recreation facilities grant? And I met the person at Department of Commerce that actually runs that program and encouraged us to go for it because we haven't had a bite at the apple. So that a lot of other cities have, and so it's our opportunity to get in there. The second, there's another flood assistance program out there too that the Department of Ecology has. I'm still researching this one, but I like to get the schedule up so I can be prepared for it. And the other one is, what about water? What about sewer? And as you know, there's a significant portion of our city that is still concrete sewer pipes, and concrete sewer pipes erode. In fact, we've had some really bad ones that we just repaired, which is awesome. But over time, they erode. But if we can line them, they'll last 50 to 100 years, maybe even more. So if you line them, and we did this last year, very cost-effective way of lining it. Our main pipe that goes down to the treatment plant is a concrete pipe, but it's in still pretty good shape. But if it was lined, it would last practically forever, right? So line it with plastic, if you will. So just possibilities. Again, I found a great program that USDA has on that potential, but this is really early on planning. I like to just get them on there if I can. And then last year's awards, I think it's important to realize that we're still working on. In fact, today I was out flying my drone and doing GPS work, and the last 2 days on this project right here. This is our reclaimed water line extension into the port area. So I was out there. And then the STBG grant, which is when I was at the county, I ran the STBG program, so I know it well. So I've been working on that, but there's a lot going. This just gives you kind of a viewpoint into the start of a grant program. And it's more than just identifying the grants and then listing them. It's also putting together a plan that has an estimate, a cost that you can adjust with time. You having a conceptual plan allows you to take that packet and apply for different grants. So for example, if you don't get it funded through a TIB grant, you could turn around and try to fund it through an STBG grant. So the same project, if it's on a federally fundable, federally classified road, the same project, you could take it to multiple grant opportunities to fund it. So let's keep rolling here. How's our time? It's too long. Anyways, it's really a good place for you to see what are we doing, and you'll notice things will keep kind of coming into the hopper. All of these have to come before you, so it's actually good for you to kind of look at them and see what might come before you. And maybe we just push some of these back to 27, 28, but we still have them listed and we have projects in place. So then the next area is project engineering. So if you want to see what I've been doing, so I'm your project engineer and grant writer. So grant writing, as you can see, is a portion of what I do, but project engineering is the other half. So you can see what projects I'm working on. And sometimes you can see, when I get a chance, I can upload plans. So for example, your Vector truck building, that's actually a good one to show really quick. Is putting together plans so that we can enclose one bay. That's such a practical approach, where rather than building a brand new building, take an existing pole barn that we have, enclose one of the bays, insulate it, get light, get power in there. It's exactly what we're doing. So I put together the plans on that. We're working on getting those out fully soon. I know that the year just flew by, didn't it? So you can get an idea of what projects that I'm working on. Some of these integrate with the grants that we got last year. So for example, in like the reclaimed water, that's our SIP grant, which by the way, you can go after more than once, right? We can keep going after the SIP stuff and then maybe, working together with the port on that, for example. So Peachtree as well, we'll see. We got to get back to that one too. The construction engineering, I haven't really built that out yet, but the intent there is to show you a project after it's complete. I would really like to, that was always my dream at the county, is after the projects are done, fly them with a drone, get some good video. And that's great for media as well. Say, hey, it's done. It's all paved and it's all striped. Beautiful project. And at least for that point in time, for that instant, until they start driving on it. I don't know if you've seen what happened this last week over at our roundabout. It got dirty really quick in one week. Oh well, you got to use it, right? So that is my intent, is to show the projects after they're complete, and then just keep a running total that. So planning up to 6 years in advance for these projects. And this next year, we're going to get deeper into that. The planning, it's a normal cycle. Every year you look ahead 6 years and you plan. Once you have those plans in place, now you can go after grants. Once you have grant application packets in place, you can take those and you might not get the grant with that funding area. Take that same grant, move it over and try a different grant area. So you've got to have 6-year plan, then you can have grants, grant applications, and the whole thing works together. I'm really curious to see how many we're going to get this year. I don't know, but we went for it. It's kind of my first year here, and I know we got a late start at it because I came in April 1st. So unfortunately, it's better to start at the beginning of the year, but we're rolling now. So another area to talk about. Did you have any questions on that, or?
No, it's really neat that you've got it uploaded to the website. It's one of those things as far as transparency.
Absolutely.
I try to memorize all the different things we got going on and potentially going on, but it's hard to convey that verbally. But to be able to direct people to that, see what all we're attempting to do is really cool.
That's exactly it. That's the word's attempting right now.
Yeah.
We just started this, and it takes about 2 years to get a good grant program going.
Sure.
And I've been talking to some of the other cities. A good example is the city of Richland, 25,000 populations, 3 times our size. They actually have 5 engineers on staff. It's like, whoa. So their engineers go after grants and then they do the work of those grants. They fund themselves. At least 50% of their time is paid for by the grant. And that's exactly what you have with me, basically. So that kind of program, you develop it, and really your grant writer, if they're also the engineer, they literally pay for themselves many times over. You just let them roll. So one other area is Parks and Recreation. There is some huge changes we just made to this, working together. Let's look underneath Parks and Trails. So when people ask you, hey, what are you doing for parks and what's the Park Commission doing? Right here, they're doing really good planning ahead. In the same way, we need to, we're planning ahead. Yes, we might not get these grants this year or next year, but if you have a plan in place, you can keep going after them. So what we did is we went back to our parks, our comprehensive plan, and we used the same numbering that they used in there. So 4.1, when you open up the parks comp plan, you'll see 4.1 is the Parkway Fields and sports complex. We used the same numbering, and then you'll notice that we actually went after, or we're trying to go after a grant in this area, also for Patrick Park as well. So you'll see that there's an overlap there. But in addition, we're going to start working on each of the parks. And again, maybe each park has a duty, right? Like the dog park or the walking park. We'll see, right? The pickleballs, there's some there too. Easley Hill Trails. So this is a good place to direct people to say, hey, what are you guys doing for your parks? This is ongoing planning, meeting every month. They're kind of excited as well where we're going with it. And it takes time to plan for this. We had a charrette, a parks charrette a couple months ago, and it was fantastic to do that because it kind of laid out some basics for each of these parks. And we started talking about, hey, what's the purpose of this park? And are we going to specialize this park? Because then we can take the limited resources we have and try to focus it, and anyways, maybe that'll be part of where we go.
Do we have anything targeted for Oasis Park?
Good question. Oasis. All we did is we listed, and the charrette had some things that were listed in there, and I haven't put that up yet. I haven't had a chance to.
Does the Department of Fish and Wildlife have any grant programs that are accessible for improvements of that because it's a fishing pond?
Interesting. DF.
Give them a minute.
What's been going on is I've had staff members and people from the public and others, they actually just send me an email when they find a grant. It's really cool. It's like, hey, I don't even have a letter. So and then what I do is I research it. One of the things I'd like to add is kind of, if there was a way that we could do it, kind of what the odds are. Is this something that we have a good shot at, or is this something that's a long shot? Maybe it's worth going after a long shot. So, for example, a $1 million grant, if you have a 1 in 4 chance of getting it, that's great. So on average, it's about 1 in 3 for grant applications. That's the average that's out there that all the other cities are telling me.
Ephrata has so many different threads, whether it's because it's got an Army airport or a state highway or it's a major railroad spike. There's just it's amazing how many different directions I know people have found for stuff like that.
I found another one today. So actually, this is a really good one because you, council, are heavily involved in this. So there's another one I just found today on the freight. I was talking to Ron about it, and it's heavily funded from the federal level. Half of the funds must go to local, half goes to the state. It's for freight transportation. It's a 5-year funding cycle, which is fascinating. So I don't know if you're aware of it, but we went after a Quadco grant, and it's a planning grant. So by the way, there's different levels of grants. Sometimes you have to get a planning grant that will lead to additional grants after that. You plan out the project. For some of them, kind of the lower hanging fruit, I could do the plan, but then for the more technical stuff, we're going to have to get someone to support. It's kind of cool thing about having an engineer also be a grant writer is actually
Work it
a
in.
huge advantage to that. So this one is the
Better
Ephrata
jump in.
Planning grant.
Right.
This is for the north-south arterial. So you noticed that I was going after federal reclassification of this because it hasn't been constructed yet. But that doesn't mean you can't get it classified. So for example, the road coming, I think this is it 3? Yes, 3 that comes over to the port. That hasn't been constructed, but we already have that federally classified, which is fascinating. So I made the comment here. It's federally classified, so we could actually go after a grant to build a road that has not even been built yet. Yes, yeah. So if we can get this federally classified, including it's real expensive, but we'll try for an at-grade, but it's so hard to get at-grade crossings anymore. An overpass, a second overpass, so one on the south side, one on the north side, actually further to the south, another one, right? So an underpass.
With the canal.
Oh, yes.
That's a joke.
Good point. So if we could get this classified, then we can start going after money. I was looking at a city that's just a little bit bigger than us, city of Ferndale. They did that. They had they wanted to do their Thornton overpass, which required them to go over a railroad track. It hadn't been constructed yet. There was nothing there. There was an Interstate 5 exit. They went ahead and got it federally classified. Then they went after TIV grants to fund little pieces of it. Then they got a federal STBG grant. They put money together, but they had to have the plan in place, and it took almost 10 years to do it. But without the plan, you won't even be able to apply for the grants. But once you get that machine going, it keeps running. So anyways, this is already in your 6-year transportation improvement plan. Is the north-south arterial. This would benefit the port greatly as well to get that in. And so it's working together as a team. We have a lot of cool stuff happening right now.
So
Can we take just 5 seconds,
Yes.
Dave, because these guys catching up with this is just monumental. So
I just had a comment first. Your energy and enthusiasm is super exciting and contagious. So thank you for all of that you're putting into it. I can feel everybody over here. Like, it's exciting. So awesome. Like, I'm glad you're here. My other, question is, how do you find them in the first place? Do you just start, how do I get a grant for this? Like, how do you start looking? And then I'm assuming you get connections at different state departments who then connect you with more. Is that how do you find them? How do you do it?
So it was really advantageous that I was the county engineer and you'll notice the focus right now has been more on roads.
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to learn more about the water and sewer grant opportunities too, like
Nice.
USDA stuff, which by the way, there's also for facilities. I'm seeing other cities, they're building like their city hall.
Yeah.
With USDA money. So the answer is it does take some time. I get help from others, it's true, but I had a good head start.
Yeah, that's fantastic. That's great. I'm glad to hear the public's participating in that too. So as you develop this out, I could see a avenue of people suggesting things even online. So I think that's a really cool way for you to be connected to people. Yeah.
And I noticed that some of the other cities, they'll actually have public meetings where they just talk about those projects that they're going after for funding. Some of these grants require public input early. Other ones require it during the design process, for example.
That makes sense.
In some of the cities that I went to the IACC conference, and some of those cities that had that communication with the community had some of the biggest benefits out of that. In great comics, people see things differently that change the direction of design. You'd be surprised.
Are they all as enthusiastic as you? Because I really love it.
Nobody's as enthusiastic as this.
Just super exciting. So I want to learn more now because they're so contagious. So good job.
Great. This is kind of perfect for me personally. I really enjoy doing this. I love the
You can
technical
tell it's fun.
as going after.
Seeing the passion is fun. So I am glad you're here.
I think part of the understanding that we're getting tonight is that everybody that's out here is seeing what staff deal with every day. every day. This guy is on fire. And we are honored we're honored to have him in here because there are times when you stand back and you go, oh, I don't know, that's going to be a hard one, but Dave just keeps trudging along. So my thinking on this is we need to have, unfortunately, I know how you feel about this, but I think these kinds of presentations are just paramount to keep everybody up to date. I mean, the techies can go in and find all that stuff, and that's incredible. But the fact that we can sit down and discuss it and bring it out, I think number one, you're going to get a larger audience for it because that's part of the whole community impact is how we doing, what can we do, why aren't we? So this is an answer to a lot of it. Some of it, like you say, some aren't going to come to fruition, but the ones that are just huge with this. And I appreciate you coming before council to kind of put that out there because otherwise we hear Dave come out of his office every now and then and go, hey, guess what? And off we go. And which is just incredible to watch into. But I think sharing it is a real valuable part of this because we all have questions. How high are those drones?
Oh, it's an excellent question. So there's around the airport, there's a certain area where I can't fly that high, if you will. I'm allowed to go up to 400 AGL with my license, but it just depends on how close I am to the airport. There's kind of a radius of it that I have to ask for special permissions called length permission, and then they have to check me off. For example, I requested to get really close to the airport just today, and I'm only going to be at 100 feet just because then they don't have to worry about the airplanes. I am supposed to always defer to any airplane that has somebody in it, if you will. A remote pilot is supposed to.
Cool.
Yeah. So there's other areas that I fly 200 feet, but I really don't fly much higher than that because if I'm closer to the ground, I can get really good detailed photos of the ground. And I have used software that takes all of those individual photos and with the GPS coordinates that I have on the ground, you might notice all over the city these little white X's now. That's me. So before I do a flight, I have to do ground control with GPS. And without the ground control with GPS, it locks it all together so I can make a complete ortho photo and then I can use that for quick design, as you're saying, because it's very
It just seems like it's very high.
Oh,
When you
200
look-
feet.
Yeah.
200 feet is what I normally fly. But with a remote pilot, you can fly up to 400 feet. And then around structures as well. But
Nice.
it's
Is
just,
there anything else you'd like to throw at us, even though we're full? I think the big part is being able to access this, and I appreciate you coming up and saying, how does Joe outside that hits some of Katie's really nice presentations that we have out there and get into what you're talking about, because that's pretty detailed stuff.
we should have some sort of event if we get some of these grants. So each year, typically there's a summer grant cycle where you submit your grants, and then in the fall/winter, you start finding out if you get them. So maybe every I don't know, or December, we can have an event. We could see how many grants we got, and then
Fun.
maybe it's a good year. I don't know. So we'll see. So after the 20th, we'll find out.
Cool. Any other questions from council?
I just,
Thank you.
I just like the short synopsis and the maps. It's very digestible.
And we can reuse it if we don't get that grant. Just repackage.
Your method is good. That'll be engaging for people too in the public, so that's good.
Yeah, it's exciting to see it up on the website. So now we can direct the public when they want to know what's going on. Hey, go look at this because there's all kinds of exciting stuff that you're missing out on. So that's cool.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank
great.
you.
Thanks.
Thank
you. Okay, so we open the public hearing. First up on the public hearing is the ad valorem tax.
Mr. Mayor. So this first one is ad valorem tax. This is part of the budget process. Every year, we're able to raise our ad valorem tax at a limit of 1%. And this 1% is exclusive of additional revenues resulting from new construction and annexation. So for 2026, the 1% would be $14,897. This would help us maintain our level of service in parks, library, streets, and our cemetery. It's a result of additional costs because of the additional increased cost of living.
All right, so as it's a public hearing, is there anybody from the public who would like to speak on this? If not, we'll close that portion of the public hearing and move on to the 2026 budget.
So our second, Katie, if you would pull that up for me. So this is your guys' first look at the budget. This is my second year presenting this to you. So I'm open to your guys' comments and how you like me to present this for you guys. We're starting off, I know last year we started with our budget with, well, this year as well, with our council retreat. And so we went over our council goals, our 7 council goals. So what I have done is I have used your guys' goals to pull down the budget just a little bit tighter and explain kind of what we're going for, the direction, and what we're doing. So if you can look at that first line, Fund 001 is our general fund. Our expenses are just over 400,000 over our revenues. Our main revenue source for this is our local sales tax. We also have some secondary sources with local and county safety tax. We have the ability to use property tax. We currently don't. We use our property tax in other places that have no other option. As well, sometimes we subsidize our general fund with REIT for certain projects. So with that, our focus for our general fund is our police and fire because of our focus on public safety. Those 2 funds are about 4.5 million of this general fund expense. What I would like to do for that makeup of the 434,000 would be to use beginning fund balance. That means our savings, stuff that rolled over from this year or prior years. We have a healthy beginning fund balance, and I feel comfortable doing that, kind of get us a leg up so that we're not fighting as hard to stay up in the future. Then we have our library. So the ones in yellow are those property fund or property tax only funds. Library, we were able to get to balance as well. And then we move on to our parks. We have a bit of a difference there as well. It is less than general fund, but comparably percentage-wise, it is higher. We have some projects in place that we're wanting to move forward on, wanting to continue doing our good work for our parks, using a little bit of that beginning fund balance as well, just help give us a leg up. Be some options for some matching funds, as well as just needed maintenance. The pool is needing some maintenance. We haven't fixed some things for 25 years, right? Is the year. So this would be our option and our chance to get that done.
Does this anticipate any grant funds coming in?
So what we are doing with these numbers, we're starting something a little bit new. It's the same, but it's different. Instead of our revenues are not including grant funds, it's only the match. So our expenditures is only if it is a $80,000 grant, but it's a $10,000 match, the expense would be for the $10,000. And what we'll do is when we get that grant and we sign it on, then we'll do a budget adjustment.
Yeah. Okay.
Since it's essentially free money at that point, we'll just add it in. But that keeps us from expecting a grant, not getting the grant, and then we have $80,000 in the budget. We might as well spend it, but we don't actually have that revenue coming in.
No, that's good.
Our reserves, so that's reserves for a new fire truck. We're transferring from the general fund into that. Our new ERC table reserved, just to make sure we have nice tables and chairs there. You guys started that fund earlier this year, if I remember correctly, as well as our police reserve. Our TBD fund is the Transportation Benefit District. That is specific to TBD tax. And that tax is approximately $580,000. We've been able to save up a bit, leverage those with grants, and be able to spend that money on our streets. Our streets fund is almost all operations only. There's a little bit in there that is the random, storm drain fund. Well, if we're doing a storm drain grant, we probably should put it under the storm drain fund. So that was about 23,000, if I remember correctly. So that's where I would like to use that beginning fund balance for those one-time expenditures. I absolutely do not want to use beginning fund balance on everyday expenditures because we will just run out of beginning fund balance. But those one-time expenditures come from the one-time use. We also have a sidewalk fund that we are rolling funds over from last year. We had $100,000 in there. We can get a lot farther with $200,000. We can do a little bit more. So we're rolling that over into this year. Cemetery fund. Cemetery is and will always be, as far as from my understanding, a problem issue. It's expensive, it's worth it. It's the public service, it's part of our enhancing community appeal as your guys' council goal to make sure that our cemetery looks nice, but you charge once for the plot and then you have maintenance 20, I think we did the math, it was 22 times in the summer we mow, and then spring and fall we mow about 6 times on either side. So, it costs a lot to put all of that manpower into the cemetery to have it look nice. We normally run this at a bit of a loss, and we subsidize that with either beginning fund balance or a transfer from the general fund. In this case, since we are already using beginning fund balance, hoping to use beginning fund balance for the general fund, I would like to use a little bit of the beginning fund balance instead of making an additional transfer from the general fund there. Then we have our tourism. This is our LTAC fees and tax that we have the board approved. It's basically money in, money out. Our park development, this is 600,000 of this is for the multi-use courts. Between rolling over REIT funds that the original thought last year when we were budgeting was 300,000 from REIT this year, 300,000 or 200,000 next year. We didn't get the grant, so we delayed that construction. So we're just going to roll that together. And it gives us a little bit more to do at one time instead of having to spread it out a little bit more. In addition to the Paul Osher grant is in there as well. We then have our REIT funds. Those are all transferring out, transferring to the 600,000. Transfers are confusing because it's counted on both sides. So it's all transferring to the park development, then to general fund, as well as the library. We're doing some HVAC over at the library, and Amtrak station. So all of those, we're hoping to get those started this year at least, but we don't want to not transfer over the money to next year in case we can't get those done in time. Fire bond, that is the bond that went out when we got new fire equipment in 2015. Katie, if you'd scroll down a little bit, yeah. So then we have our general capital fund. This is the one that we created when we started our general capital project at 215 Basin. This would be a transfer in for design. It's designers.
Architectural. Yeah.
Architectural, that's it. I knew it wasn't, yes. So they say it's normally costs about 10% of, and the estimates came in at around 12 million. We're definitely hoping to be considerably under that, but we need to budget high so that those funds are transfers from all of the other funds. What I did for now is we used Ray's spacing on the words, distribution of his salary to kind of know what funds pay for his salary is the same as what funds pay for the building for now. As we have to have something figured out for 2025. We can change that, but for reporting purposes, we can't just say we don't know what funds we spent money on and what funds we're going to spend money on. So for now, we're using Ray's distribution, and then we will update that in the future when we actually, everything comes back and we know.
That's going to be based on plans of the building, like what it'll be used for. So then you'll have percent allocations or something. Okay.
Exactly. Yes. So if it's 50% police and 50% city
you'll
hall,
know
then
what
we'll
fund.
use Ray's allocation for the city hall, and then police will use police. Garbage, that is our contracting out for the garbage and garbage on money coming in. Water sewer operations, this is literally money or water in, water out, just making sure every time you flush the toilet that it works. Our water sewer construction, this is continuing on our water reclamation project as well as our water tower. Those are not quite finished yet, as well as drilling some wells, additional wells, and creating the well house. Well house?
A well house.
Well house.
A new well house, a new pump house for the well.
Yeah, to go on top of those new wells. So what I would like to do is use beginning fund balance to for that well house for this year. For well 11, we could push it off a year, but having it not have a well house is just putting it off another year. It could cost more in the future.
Well 11 is the certificate from well 6 that we were able to procure. And so we're on a timeline to develop that.
So using beginning fund balance to complete that one, and then we can put the well 5 pump house that we also need to do. We can do that in the subsequent years. We have loan repayment. Since we do have loans for these water and sewer projects, they are very low interest. It's less than 1%. We still have to pay those back. So we have these allocated and we transfer money from operations to those loan repayment funds. Our water reserve fund, this is so we can purchase water rights in the future. It's just truly thinking of the future and making sure that we have the funds there so that if we were to lose water rights or need to gain more, we have money there. Our equipment rental, this is for every truck essentially that gets maintenance and ran through the city. Some departments do purchase their own trucks. Fire department purchases their own trucks, but our city shop guys help maintain those. And then I like to call it the Cemetery Forever Fund. This is a non-spendable fund. From my understanding, it was a donation to the city. Not a donation.
Oh, no,
Okay.
Sorry.
That was kind of my understanding, is it was a donation at one time to help pay for the cemetery maintenance. But they said you can't spend any of the money that we give you, only use the interest. And so that's what we do, is we have it invested, we're getting interest on it, and then we help pay for the maintenance. And I'm sure at one point it probably paid for most of the maintenance, but cost of living's gone up quite a bit. So when I started this, we were 6.6 million between the over on the expense side to the revenue side. It's now showing 1.5. As I've explained, I would like to use the beginning fund balance so that that would add exactly to the revenues, and we would be balanced at that point. I still have quite a bit of work to do. This is a really, really good start.
So what does that put the city's, I don't know how way to ask the question, the city's equity or surplus position in by using the 1.5 million?
I feel very.
Could we hold off for just a second? We're in the public hearing, so first thing we need to do is ask if there's anybody from the public that would like to speak to this. Go back in time, Chief. Do you remember the cemetery, the donation? Does that ring a bell with you guys at all? It was that long ago. Okay, thanks. Just wanted to. That's right. Okay. But the whole point is that, sorry, Sarah, but the whole point is for the public input on this. So if we don't have any with that, then we'll close the public hearing with this, and we'll move on. And this is where you're going to come into the first reading about the ad valorem tax, which we will get into. But before we do that, let's step back and let Sarah to ask her question about the finances, because that's kind of a big deal.
I think you answered that.
Yeah, I feel really good. Leslie, our previous finance director, has set us up very well. And I feel very confident with using the reserves for exactly what she saved them for, which is to purchase a new city hall, to do some of those one-time fees. We also know that we're going to have more one-time money coming in. And so we can help use it. We can help budget for it now and possibly just be using, it could be sales tax because the jail is now in and PUD is going to be building. It could be property tax, but we'll be able to use this specifically as one-time purchases, which is the exact same thing that we would be using that money for. So in my mind, it's a nice, easy exchange.
It doesn't deplete us into a position. It doesn't use money to put us in a precarious position. I hear you saying that we have plenty still, and it's a positive net position.
Now, can we do this every year for the next 10 years? No.
Sure. Okay.
For now, we are good. I feel good about the next 5 years.
Would it be appropriate to show those fund balances, like when you do this little chart? I don't know if that's something that, I mean, it's all public information, but I don't know if that's hassle for you to do that.
I actually even have them on that spreadsheet. However, we used some beginning fund balance last year. That's part of the annual report process, is doing all of that math.
Right.
I hope to have those numbers.
Them reconciled. Because I think that would, to Sarah's question, I think that would, you get an idea then of what is that beginning fund balance. Is it, on the one where you're going to use 15 or 1.5 million, is the beginning fund balance 1.6 million and we're running it to nothing? I mean, I think that's kind of where Sarah's going.
I can answer confidently that we're not using more than, or we're not even getting close to half of any of the beginning fund balances. So,
I think that helps with perspective for
Yeah.
people who don't see the budget stuff often. So
right.
just to have a feel of what that means,
And
kind of hit that is.
I didn't want to put them up because I knew we've used some this year.
Sure.
And we're still working on the transfers and the purchase of 15 or 215 basin. That was using beginning fund balances as well. And I haven't had the time to do the math on that quite yet. But
Oh, that's fine. That's fine. I think to Sarah's point, I think that's kind of the information that, I mean, that's what I would want to see if it's possible.
Absolutely. And that's kind of my plan for the next budget hearing, was to have those.
Perfect.
As
Good
long
first
as I can
look.
do all of the math.
Yeah.
in time.
Yeah. So many funds.
Yes.
Well, thank you.
I think to put a period on Kristen's work here is that, and the part of the easier to understand, at least to council and to everybody else, that we understand, or you do understand because you've been involved with this in the inception of this, which is several years out on this, but the council goals are truly reflected in what you're seeing here today. It's not a can we do this and can we do that. It's a taking of the established goals that council established over a period of time and actually turning them into numbers and putting that together. So when you see the little parenthesis out there that says we're out by this, that's a true reflection of what you guys are just talking about, is that we don't want to talk about it and we don't want to tell everybody, but we got a couple of bucks in the couch that we can still get out there and to make this work. But the overall understanding of this is that, and it does drop back to Leslie a little bit, and everybody else, that we've been socking it away. Not that we're a profit agency, but we knew these things were going to come up. We knew the sewer treatment plant was in trouble. We knew that we needed water out there. We knew that our roads were in trouble. We knew that our sewer system, as Dave talked about tonight, we knew that was going out. So a long time ago, this isn't something that we started saving for in January. And I'm preaching to the choir here, but the understanding is that the council established the expectations. It isn't internal administration coming to council. It's council bringing it to administration, which is exactly what these two are talking about. And Kristen has done an excellent job and can actually bullet point where your desires are being held on this. So there's going to be probably some tweaking that goes on with this, but this thing's pretty close to finished. So I'd say maybe not the next meeting, but maybe the meeting after that, you're going to get a final budget on this based on a huge amount of what you just saw here tonight, which I think was impressive. So anyway, just a pat on the back to everybody. And then this just dribbles back to all the way down to Josh and Jay, the whole gang really putting it together, because watching these guys go through the budget process is it's an interesting event, because everybody says, well, I want this. Well, so do I. Well, we don't have that, and we never will. I don't care how much you think we got in the bank. We'll never hit 100% with that. So they've done an excellent job of paring it down, and with, she's just a little cutie sitting over here, but by God, don't go against her. Because she'll tell you, no, you're not going to do that. Well, I want to, but that's the end of the discussion. So anyway, just to put a point on it. So anything else from council on this?
As much as I can try, 1 + 1 still doesn't equal 3. So I'm working on it.
Okay.
I want to hear it
Thank
from
you.
Dave next time. He'll find 3 in there.
Yeah. Okay. If that's it, thanks, Kristen. Ordinances, first reading of ordinance 2507, the ad valorem tax.
Yes, so this is the 1% increase, specifically of that exclusive to additional revenues from new construction and annexation. We jump in here. Yeah, again, it's less than 15,000, which when you're looking at a $35 million budget, 15,000 really isn't a whole lot, but it's a little bit closer, a little bit less of that beginning fund balance. that we would have to use for that, for the cemetery is what I'm really looking at here. So, what I am hoping is that we can get a motion to approve ordinance number 7 for 2025, fixing the amount of revenues for the 2026 budget to be raised by an ad valorem taxes to a second reading.
Oh, you changed your mind, didn't you? Okay. So that's kind of a new process that we're going through here, is that first reading to second reading. And council always has the option to not go to the second reading, but this is probably a pretty good time to do that because we still need to kind of tweak a little bit and get a fuller understanding of what that ad valorem tax. So based on Kristen's recommendation, we're asking for a recommendation to move ordinance 2507 to the second reading.
Moved.
Second.
All right, thank you.
I was like, is that what we're saying?
That's exactly what we're saying. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. We will hear from this one again. Resolutions 25076, authorization to vacate easement.
So I believe this is actually resolution 5076, not 075, but what has happened is we did receive a request from a property owner in the northeast section of town that has a 10-foot rear yard utility easement on his platted lot. And he is requesting that be vacated. To do that, the council must set a public hearing to consider that. So we are requesting through this resolution to set that public hearing on the December 3rd meeting. So essentially what we would be looking at is a motion to adopt resolution number 76 for 2025, authorizing the setting of a public hearing for vacation of a public utility easement.
Yeah.
So moved.
Thank you. All right. Any other questions? Got that, Katie? All right. Cool. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. 077, contract with Bohemus Heating and Air for library and intermodal transportation building HVAC.
Mayor, councilors, before you in the resolution requesting staff to execute a contract with Bohemus Heating and Air Conditioning to replace the heat and air units at both the Amtrak station and the library. Staff went out and received 4 quotes. Went out to ask for quotes through the MRSC process. We received 4 quotes. The engineer's estimate was $100,000. Bohemus Heating and Air came in at $41,342. So we're well under budget on that. It was interesting looking at them because the 2 local contractors that bid were neck and neck with it, and the 2 that bid from the other side of the mountains were neck and neck with it. So,
Other side of the mountains, neck and neck. Yeah, okay. All right.
Staff would like to make a motion to adopt resolution 25077 as proposed, authorizing staff to execute a contract with Bohemus Heating and Air Conditioning.
So moved.
So moved.
All right.
Second.
Questions? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved. Good to the order. If not, we'll call it a night. Thank you, everybody. Meeting adjourned.
So moved.
That quick, kids.